it's Helen Godden here, and I'm going to show you my painting and quilting tutorial for my new Alpha Blocks E design. Today we're looking at the letter A, is for armadillo, and I'm going to hold your hand as a beginner and show you all the painting process that I do and the entire quilting process. So stay tuned and watch this happen right before your very eyes. So I'm starting with a square-sided brush and working on the black fabric. Now I've traced the design with my Panda pencil. Now you need the Panda pencil on the black fabric. You could use a white fabric chalk, but you have to be careful that it doesn't brush off when you overhandle things. With our Panda pencil, that design will stay there until we iron away. And even if I paint over it, that's okay. Any leftover Panda pencil will iron away. Now you can see I've jumped in there with a grey colour, but then straight away while it's wet, I've just blended in the edges with a khaki colour called Old Brass. But you can see how it just varies that and makes it look more like that shiny surface of the armadillo. I've even used a bit of burgundy there. Okay, now you can see it's not particularly neat or precise painting, it's just giving you the feeling of that armadillo, and it's a bit of fun. With all of my designs, they are very strong designs as far as the outline of the creatures. So really, if you painted him pink or purple, whatever colours, he will still look like an armadillo. So it's not a realistic armadillo, it's a design of an armadillo with very strong emphasis on those outlines. So when I'm painting these blocks, if you do a class with me, I encourage people to leave a black gap. So I leave some of that black fabric showing through around the various shapes. So pretty well wherever there's a chalk line, I'm leaving a black gap. And that way, no matter what colours you paint it, the design, the strong design element will come through. Now in this design as well, I've also added some shadows. So you can see like the A has a shadow. Where the armadillo is standing, there's a shadow. There's a shadow under the avocado, and there's a shadow on his back from the apple. So I'll be just leaving those black. Okay, so that's the fabric just showing through. And yes, that white pencil mark will just iron away. That's my Panda pencil. Now there for the apple, I'm using a beautiful colour. It's an Opulence colour, which is an Australian made paint that I sell on my website that has a really strong bright red. So I call it redder than red because it's redder than the other paints that I use. And all the other colours you might be able to see there are Lumiere by Jacquard. Now they're an American made product, but I sell those on my website, and they are these beautiful metallic and pearlescent colours. And as you can see from this demonstration, they paint onto black in one coat. Okay, they don't sink into the black like other acrylic paints would just sink in and disappear. These metallic paints have a lot of mica, and that makes the shininess stay up on top of the black. They are a permanent paint. This can absolutely be washed, but it means we can work on the black fabric and get this really strong impact of colours. Now you can see I'm just working into the background, and of course we do speed up the video. I don't actually paint quite that quick. But this is a beautiful magenta colour, and I'm using that straight edge brush to work my way around. So, and up here I'm going to feather off because I imagine I'm going to add a different colour. Yep, I've dived into another colour there. That's the Halo Violet Gold. Now it's a magic colour that is actually different tone depending on the light hitting it, would you believe? It'll sometimes look mauve like it does in the jar there, or it will look more gold. So it ends up getting a mushroom pink kind of tone to it, which is a fairly neutral kind of tone. But truly, as you move this fabric under different lights, it changes colour, like those cars that drive past and change colours. Now I've dived in with my absolute favourite colour. This is Secret Weapon Jade. This is one of the Opulence colours that I sell on my website, and it's Australian made paint. It's the same as the Lumiere, but it comes in these fantastic colours. Look at that jade. It is just stunning. Anytime you use that on a project, it's a winner. So I'm just doing a little bit of correction there, tidying up a few little things, noticing a little bit of background needs to be there. So I just painted it on the top. Now look how simple this eye is. A dab of white, and now we're doing dabs of black, just using the little pointy brush and not rotating the brush in my hand, just keeping it the one angle. And for his little tail. I'd love to see an armadillo one day. Quite extraordinary little fellows. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, A is also for ant. So I've done the ant's body, and I will stitch into that to give him his legs. I wouldn't attempt to paint legs. Doing a bit of correction down there. And then I've gone and added some extra patterning onto the A. Now the underneath paint, the jade colour, was not particularly dry, so that's why that's sinking in a little bit. But by the time I outline that with my stitching, you'll see that'll come to life. So that's sunset gold I'm using there over the jade. That's going to look pretty terrific. Well, I've gone on to the brass, which is a pale gold, so it's a lighter tone as we've moved up on the letter A. So I have designed all of the alphabet. There's 25 blocks, and you're saying, but Helen, there's 26 letters. I have combined W and X. Okay, so we've got 25, which makes for a neat finish of a quilt. Oh, I just got rid of that little bit. Okay, little correction. And now some spots up his forehead there, the sort of scaly bits, using that fine brush and the black. And just a little bit of correction around some of those shapes, just finding that black gap to define those areas, and we will quilt into those black gaps any minute now. So before quilting, it has to dry, obviously, and then I iron it, which is more about making the fabric flat, not setting the paint. And it also gets rid of those last bits of the panda pencil. There we go, I've finished the painting. So I've ironed, I've sandwiched this block with some batting and backing, and now I'm going to be stitching around all the black outlines. So stitching in the black. That's why you'll be hoping that you did leave decent black gaps. Stitching in there so that it secures the piece and emphasises those outlines and gives us a strong design element. Now you certainly could do this in applique, and these black lines here would be where you perhaps stitch some handwork or do the blanket stitching to give the design some impact. Always with applique, people tend to focus on the outer edge of a shape, and you've got to go in there and give us some detail within a shape. So like I'm doing here with the letter A, I'm diving in and outlining those circles, and my intention is to make the letter A look like it was a piece of fabric, jade with yellow circles on it, that I appliqued onto this block. So I like it to look like it was a piece of patterned fabric. Now I'm working on my Handi Quilter Sweet 16 with the micro foot. You can see it's like footless and fancy free. It gives me a very clear view of where I'm going when I'm doing such micro quilting. So that's the micro quilting foot from Handi Quilter, but that is specific for Handi Quilter machines. So you can see how I'm always trying to minimize cutting my threads. I've even let that little joining stitch go into the circle, and the fact that it's on most of them, well, that gives it a feeling of consistency, so that's fine. Up and around that apple, giving a little bit of detail on the leaf there through the shadow area. A few jump stitches there to cut off, I'll get those later. Now a bit of detailing on those scaly bits on his body. Doesn't have to be neat and perfect, it's all about just giving it some texture and variation. Same on here, I'm fascinated with the armadillo, with their different patterning of this armour that they wear. It's quite extraordinary. We certainly have nothing like them in Australia, nothing at all. Quite unique. Around his tail. A bit more of that patterning, I quite liked that. And see how I'm making it curve with the curvature of his body and going into those black gaps, into those black ditches to help me with my stitching. Oh, back over here, doing some more texture on his nose, just little loose loops and circles to give the armour some texture, and finishing off the last of those circle shapes on the A. Now I have got the machine going fairly fast, but we've also got the video sped up. So for someone at home trying free motion quilting for the first time, you do want to have the sewing machine going a bit faster than you actually think it should be. Okay, but don't make your hands race. I know it looks like I'm racing here, but the video is sped up. But in general terms, have the machine going fairly fast, but your hands just going the speed that they feel confident to make that pattern. Don't think because the machine is going fast that you have to go fast. That's a failing of beginners when they think it has to relate. It doesn't. Hands go slow and steady at the speed they are confident to make that pattern. Oh, there's my little ant. And now we've launched into a spiral. So you can see I've started with a number 6 that I loosely work my way into the middle and then find my way back out again. Going halfway between the line I already made, and when I pop out, keep going around the outside. Okay, and now I can think about where I'm going to go again. I've done an echo, another echo because there's not much room there, but now it looks like, no, wait for it. There, we've launched into another one. See, it's a 6, loosely based a 6 going into the middle, coming back out again, and when you pop out, keep going around the outside of that spiral. There we go. It's like she could hear me. Okay, a bit of an echo. Keep joining back onto that black. Okay, a little correction in the corner. Fill that teeny spot there. Okay, so there's 6s and 9s, but they're still the same principle of starting to make a circle and going snail shell into the middle of that circle, just like we kind of do when we make a number 6. Into the middle, back out again. Oh, that was quick. Now sometimes you just fake it with a half one, and by having that go and touch the edge of the armadillo, it looks like it goes behind him, which then gives him, looks like he comes forward in the picture and the quilting, the spirals are behind. So it pushes him forward from the background by having those stitchings touch the black edge and look like they go behind by doing half a spiral. Particularly when there's no room, just do half one. Just fake it till you make it, all that kind of thing. Now I always stitch way over the edge, knowing that it's going to get cut off when the block gets trimmed, but I would much rather have that quilting go off the edge, knowing that I've done enough quilting. Nothing worse than having to go back and do just one little bit of quilting because you just didn't quite give yourself enough. So see how I just fake it down there, just do something that looks like it was part of the process, even though there's no way you can do a whole spiral down in a little skinny gap. Filling in those internal bits. There we go. One more bit to go. A few jump stitches there to get rid of. There we go. That looks like that's the quilting done. Oh no, look, one little patch. There's always one in there. Let's see, there, I've sort of continued the look of that spiral. So just sort of faking it, making it look like it goes behind the armadillo. There we go. And there's our little ant. Lovely. So there you go. That's your A is for armadillo, our first block of alpha blocks. Education and inspiration, HelenGordon.com. See you later.